Hi, Gary Port for NYDivorceFacts, here with Macha Yuzu. Macha's staring at me, and he has just flown over to get his. And yes, Azuki is still nesting. As I've said before, she gets into those nesting moods where sometimes it will take a month to 6 weeks before we see her again. She's really nesting hard on her phony eggs. Sadly, she doesn't realize they're phony, but she's nesting hard on them. Another one, buddy? In my last video, we talked about domestic violence and child custody, so I figured I'd talk a little bit about the agencies that are involved in that. If you're in New York City, the agency that investigates domestic violence towards children, child neglect cases, is the Agency for Children's Services, ACS. Outside of New York City, they call it Child Protective Services, and it's generally part of the county's Department of Social Services. Whether it's ACS or CPS, they investigate allegations of neglect. Neglect can be as simple as hitting a child, not feeding a child, not taking a child to school, committing domestic violence to the other parent in front of a child, doing drugs in front of a child, doing drugs with the child, driving the child while you're intoxicated, either with drugs or alcohol. I had a case where a client had a DWI with an infant in the car, and CPS in Suffolk County was heavily involved in that. I had another case where a father had been eating marijuana brownies and some crumbs got on the floor, and the baby ate some of the crumbs and ended up in the emergency room, and CPS was involved. But CPS also gets involved if you have a spouse who allows the neglect to happen. So let's say that you are a spouse who is being physically abused and being physically abused in front of your child. If you do not report that to CPS, CPS could find that you are neglecting your child. That's right. You, as the abused spouse or the abused parent, can be found to have neglected your child for not reporting the abuse that is occurring to you in front of the child. Also, if you know your spouse is an alcoholic or doing drugs and you do nothing, and it's happening around the child, that is also abuse. And ACS or CPS can come in and file a neglect petition against you. And with neglect, they can take the kid out of the house. Now, one thing to keep in mind always, ACS and CPS will always present a paper to you and say, you have to sign this, otherwise we're going to go to the judge and take the kid away. Sign nothing. For them to take your child away, they've got to go to court and prove it. If you sign the paper, they don't have to prove anything. Now you've got to prove that you're competent and a good parent to get the kid back. So do not listen to their threats that you have to sign. No, you do not. And if ACS is at your door, call your lawyer. Sign nothing. Make them prove their case. If you have any questions, give us a call at Port and Sava, 516-352-2999. We help you get on with the rest of your life.